goodness, it's another Monday. 2024, 22nd of January. Good morning. This is Jason Schwartz, host here at the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. We are 88.5 FM, KAKU, the voice of Maui, simulcast on Akaku Maui Community Media, Channel 55 on cable. You can also find us up there on the web. This all lives afterward on YouTube, but you can find MauiNeutralZone.com. You can go from there and see all of our shows. This morning, I know a number of you have tuned in because Eddie Garcia, who has been a real strong advocate for what's going on in the West Side because of the toxic waste that's been begun to be dumped there in Oluwalu as a temporary, I love that, measure, was going to be here at our show, but I got an 11th hour text from him that he couldn't make it, and I understand. When I looked at his Instagram feed, Living Earth Systems, he was there with RFK, who's running for president, standing there and hearing how RFK was talking, how all of these toxic sites leak, and how important what Eddie is doing, and what we're going to talk about sometime when he'll be here. But you can go at Living Earth Systems up on Instagram and see some of the videos there and get a feeling for why this subject is so important. And it's going to leave a toxic legacy unless something is done, many people feel. Obviously, the mayor and the council that voted for it don't feel that or don't know that. But, you know, it isn't over. It isn't over. So please be aware. I'm hoping that you will stay with us today because I have a new and terrific guest that I just met, actually. And she told me, oh, yeah, I met you before, so you'll hear about it. I am here with Melanie Undem. Is that right, Melanie?
Undem.
Undem.
Yep.
Please, Melanie Undem.
Yep.
I just know Melanie.
Yep.
Hi, Melanie.
Aloha. Nice to see you.
Thank you for joining us here in the
Thanks
Neutral Zone.
Thanks for asking.
Excuse my little bit of raspy voice. I'm not trying to be sexy. I'm just, I guess, I've been a little busy, and getting sick has been sort of an interesting and very full time. Now, I met you at a birthday party for another future guest, Marianne Scott, who's 86 years old, or 86 years young here. Had a birthday party at her home in Kihei, and me and Ariel met Melanie. And when Eddie dropped out of being on our show, I thought, I know. I just met this really nice lady who just seems to be doing things. I don't even know what they are, but we're going to explore together. Melanie, welcome to our show.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Now, we're the Neutral Zone, but we're anything but neutral. That's important to point out because the only thing, you can't say those 7 words that George Carlin made famous, what we can't say on radio. But those have nothing to do with anything. Actually, they threw me off YouTube a couple of times because I was speaking about subjects that were, I guess, taboo on a national and international level. But I don't think we're dealing, because today, what do you do and what is your main focus these days? Because I just met you and I think our audience would like to know you too.
Okay. I'm getting better at...
Get a bit closer if you can, only so that you don't get as much echo. You're good.
Cool.
Go ahead,
I
anytime.
am a long-time grassroots community organizer, so I started...
This is a microphone, so you got to be...
Cool. All right.
Okay.
All right. You
You're
can
good.
teach me everything.
No, just get a little closer.
Cool.
Notice how I am?
Yep.
That's because the further away you get, the more you get the room echo.
Right.
When you're in here, you sound like you're on radio. You don't need to eat the microphone necessarily, but you got to be, like that.
Cool. I'm a grassroots organizer, community organizer, so I've spent a lot of time doing environmental community organizing throughout the United States of America. working on water quality. So working on toxics, working on pesticide watch.
So
when I moved, go ahead.
No, when you just say that, I mean, here on Maui, you've been doing that?
When I shifted, in my environmental community organizing career, I said to myself, I love this. I need to be at the center with the Lord. So I do community medicine ministry. So I show up with the most vulnerable and care and share and figure out what that means and how we can support our most vulnerable, whether that's our veterans, our unsheltered, the addicts, the parents and families dealing with trauma. I show up to those spaces and try to do collaboration and working together for the benefit of our land and of the people who are here to caretake the land. Yeah.
So are you a nonprofit organization? I guess not. You're a ministry
I'm
by
me.
yourself.
Right now I'm myself, and I'm angling from kind of doing community medicine into advocacy and justice. But
well, you actually reminded me when I met you. You were. I didn't know that I had met you before.
Yep.
I guess it's Thursday morning in Kalama Park in Kihei. You were a ministry feeding all kinds of people in the park.
Yeah, so the model for the last year and a half has been less about bringing food and feeding, but more about can we gather and feed each other. So I like to create the model where people are coming together to work together. So we cook together, wash the dishes, clean the dishes, together. So that's what we've been doing Thursday, creating sanctuary, safe spaces for people to exhale, communicate, eat, drink coffee, but really safe spaces for people to...
And who is your audience there?
Anyone who is...
Anyone that would like a plate of food.
Yes. Anyone who, or just wants to be in a space to gather, to sing, to pray, to gather around. So
when I was there, I saw there were a preponderance of people that appeared homeless that I've seen that either live around or in Kalama Park because they don't have shelter for whatever reason. Right. So some may have issues that are beyond the scope of me pointing and knowing even. And some of them just looked like they could use a friend. So that's great. So
so I believe in encouragement. So that's that's the heart of how I roll, is people need to be encouraged. And what does it mean to walk alongside each other as we're going through all these struggles and changes? And so encouragement, yeah.
Again, I'm only giving you a notion. Oh. If you're a little bit closer, you'll find that
Thank you.
People will hear you.
Thank you.
I hear you. So you have a group of people, like a core group down there. Is it always the same people that are in your team? No, it's who wants to show up to support. So I really don't have, it really is show up, and if we're there, whoever's there and wants to cook together. And that's how we roll. I like having a collaboration meetings to prepare, but right now I've kind of backed off of Thursdays. I was gone for a few months through the fires, so that's just rolling on its own, and I'm kind of moving to a different model. I like setting up working models and keep going. Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's what you mean by community organizer. Yeah. You lead the way and start something, and then I think what we all hope we start something and others see value in it and join in. Yeah. Here in Maui, like you say, after the fires, Kula, I don't want to leave you out, but Lahaina, when that fire happened and everything afterward, we see people that are helping for the sake of helping, and people who are moved to put their hand in to be able to help move things forward. And boy, things are really still happening on a community action level there in the West Side. I don't know which leaders to thank. I think everyone that's doing it is really they have their own dynamic. Lahaina's strong and Maui strong, and I know Archie's been busy, and Keimoku, Kapu. I've seen lots of different people involved out there. But you're doing it there in Kihei.
Well, and it's interesting because Kalama, which I like to remind people, means the torch. And I do find, having spent 6 years spending time in South Maui, when there's change on this island, the park systems shift with who is coming through the park. So we are really hosting a lot of people who are in transition from Lahaina. Their family members are, dealing with a lot of trauma there. So there's a lot of conversation, a lot of figuring out how to care and support each other across the island from Kalama. Yeah. So people flood the park systems from different spaces. So it really is a gathering point for communication and care, right, as the park systems are. And so we just,
And I found it interesting that different newspapers that interviewed people after the fire, a bunch of them were found in Kalama Park. And around Kalama there are all kinds of newspaper reporters from the New York Times and Civil Beat. They know that Kalama Park is really a major spot, like you say.
Yeah, it's an interesting integration spot. You got the tourists, you got the unsheltered, and it's a space of a lot of activity. So
I saw you have, I guess, Instagram posts. I saw under Lotus Ministries.
Lotus Ministries is YouTube, and Prayer and Movement is Instagram.
I see. Well, I saw up there where you were there and singing, actually, but in the background was Kalama Park. It looked like a flood. So that's very telling by itself. That I think that every time I see water, and I think, okay, they're rebuilding for the I don't know how many time South Kihei Road up north, and when they close the road, somehow the traffic is extraordinary. You'd think that after a while there'd be a better way to tell people, please, and put some of their detour signs up where there's traffic lights to get them on the upper highway, instead of having cars massively going up like Kulani Hakoi to a circle where you stop the whole highway, onesies and twosies, trying to let people get in from Kulani Hakoi who are trying. It's a massive monster every time. And then when it isn't raining, it's a monster. But when it is raining and the road, we have to do something major here. I'm sure that everyone, including the authorities, the county and whomever, know that. But it is just incredible. For Kalama Park, I mean, I saw a video, I guess it was a drone shot from up above. It looked like Foodland, and the pavilion there in Kalama Park were little islands in the middle of a lake.
So people can't travel to get food, charge their even wheelchair. I had an uncle who's from Lahaina, now he's Kalama, couldn't charge his wheelchair, trying to figure that out through the floods. But that's also kind of the watershed conversation that hopefully Eddie would have a more perspective on. But South Kihei watershed management, that's the result of that, It's like we've overbuilt and...
Yeah, I don't know how many... You've been on Maui 6 years, you said?
Yeah.
Well, I'm older. I've been here a while longer. And these problems that you see there have been here as long as I am here, since 1988, and longer. I mean, I've had... when people said to me in 1988, oh, you should have seen it before it got crowded. You can imagine from 88 till now how much more has gotten crowded. Our infrastructure has been insufficient for as long as I can remember. And although you'd think that building out of infrastructure should match the building, we've scared a couple of builders away. There was supposed to be another major development, I guess it's north of Maui Meadows, where that developer, on hearing how much infrastructure the council was going to demand of him to be able to do what he did, he said, it's not going to be profitable, and he bailed. But they don't have that, and obviously haven't had it in place adequately enough to deal with this growth. Kulani Hakoi Gulch and the water that come down. I've seen things to do with tax records where titles were shifted and all kinds of shenanigans that, I don't have the power to jump in and take it to the end, so I don't talk about things that I can't prove, or, it doesn't make sense for me to be talking too much detail. But suffice it to say...
But bringing the data to the surface, I think, is important, and I think people need to acknowledge what's going on and more transparency so we can talk about it.
Well, they're paid reporters. Yeah. Let them do it. Because I'm not supported by anything.
Yeah, amen.
And what happens is, here's an example.
Yeah.
In 1992, I was a Green Party candidate, lived in West Maui, and I wasn't thinking about running, but people around me there at the thing say, hey, you have green ideals, we need candidates. So I ran, and I got 11% of the vote, and the Republicans said to me, yeah, if you didn't run, your votes, I could have beaten this other guy, but you took the votes. I don't know how many of my votes would have voted for him, because he was, again, his values weren't exactly mine, so whatever. But our mayor was Republican, and more than I knew until after the fact. I had booked and paid for the opening of the Maui Arts and Cultural Center's New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and went out to get sponsors, and found from the lips of hotel general manager that I was being blocked, that there were people that came out about an event through the mayor. They never paid for it or got the MAC. It completely crazy made me up. Or the guy that was the head of the Visitors Bureau, who became the head, Roger Dubin. There's a name you remember. We had planned he was going to be the head of my organization, but then he got a big paying job that was right in line with our idea of putting things together. If you look up MauiArtsAndMusic.org, you'll see a little of, maybe a lot of what we were planning on doing, still do. So every time I go to the MAC and see Pundy and Stone there sitting on that bench, I remember of what could be. Well, the time
people are
now,
asking for music.
With what's happening now,
it's
art and music that could be supported and raise money to help create environmental solutions seems to be a no-pain way to raise money, not only from Maui, but from the whole world. So that's a separate conversation. But music and people having fun is a powerful thing. You can ask people for money for something, and they're not so quick. But they'd go to that music show. They're going to go see the Doobie Brothers. They're going to go see all these things. But now if a portion of monies goes to environmental solutions, and we show them that they are doing it by going to music and art shows, buying, we're going to have a world that will wake up to what we're going to do here, and they will be part of building the solution for Maui, who by itself doesn't have the number of people to be able to bring in the money to do the things that we need to do here. So what better way than involve the world through the art and music, and how this could be, we talk about it, a global example place of cooperation at a level that you don't see too easily in other places. We hear about it and see about it, but we are an ideal location. We're already a tourist destination. Why don't we send people home with more than just a suntan by showing them the good things that we're doing here on Maui and the good people who are doing it?
Amen.
Which is what you see on this show.
Here's my idea for
Please.
music, and I think maybe this is for the tourist board. All the tourists should be coming if they're going wherever they're going. Kalama, for example, there's ancient Hawaiian music that is sharing the story of the nooks and crannies of the land and the wind, and I think we should have an app where when people are moving around the island, they can say, oh, I'm at the Cove. Let me listen to the songs that were written about this area so I know how to tune into the land. And we can really create that quality, because the music can create that quality of aloha aina.
The biggest thing I hear when things like that, which is a great idea. That's why I chose Maui Arts and Music Association. Mama
Yeah.
And Papa, people aligned in positive action, because together family values can come out and we can lift and elevate our local Hawaiian culture.
Yes.
And do exactly what you say, showcase different places. But the money to do that, the way that things seem to be structured, that's not in their budget, you see.
Well, I believe that the right money is going to be available for the right people to do the right thing at the right time, and I believe that.
Well, and that's what we're trying to do by bringing it all together. That's really, I mean...
Because the philanthropists are going to be looking for people to do this stuff in a new, creative, efficient way. And we are not experiencing efficiency, and that's where I believe that music, especially music inspired by appreciation, helps to bring out efficiency and joy. That's my prayer, yeah? May the rains, like, I never want to say go away rains because we have too much flooding. We want the rains to be go to the right place and, be used in the right way as intended, yeah?
And we've had drought here, although people may not be aware of it. When you have a drought up country, so I'm thankful. Hannibal Tavares, our old mayor way back when, said to me and Ariel, I think it was like 1990, I don't remember, 6, right before he died. He was jealous of Molokai that had built ahead of the need, quote, and now they could use rain too. A large reservoir. We don't have the way to hold it. I want to say, we learned a lot, but we're still, that's the Army Corps of Engineers digging down there in Oluwalu. You'd think we would have learned about the rainfall and how it comes.
Well, I think we have, and it's being blocked. I think learning gets blocked. I think wisdom gets blocked, and we need to keep talking. So I'm glad you have this show.
Well, I think some of the block just is the priorities of those that have the communication airwaves.
Yes.
It's much more sexy to talk about a problem than to talk about solutions and talk about cooperation. It sounds like it's a weak thing, when in fact, if we all hold hands together, that we become a net that is way stronger than these other things that are seemingly obstacles, and we can get the message out. It's just like in these shows. People have asked me, Jason, you're on public access TV. I don't know how many people are seeing your show. We have no ratings. Well, if people share the show, or our guests will use it as a tool to share the ideas that they're bringing, and we share it, that's how the net gets formed. I may have people that come up to me. I'm always surprised. They come up to me and they say, Mr. Schwartz, so respectful. Mr. Schwartz, is that you? You were my teacher in 1994 when I was in high school. They were cheering my name in the high schools. I had to stop. It was crazy. I had to stop substitute teaching.
What were you teaching?
Because I was everything.
Cool.
I was like a sub. But I had to stop because I was creating disruption in the schools because the young people heard what I was saying. Maybe the parents didn't listen, but I was that different substitute teacher. I was in Whole Foods a couple of weeks ago. One person working there stopped me. When they call me Mr. Schwartz out of the blue, I don't ever call me Mr. Schwartz. So, it's like, what? Who is that? But the people here are very respectful. And that was a really great experience then. And there are many great leaders here who are trying things, and some you've seen here, some are yet to be here. But, it's good people like Melanie. Listen, did you hear she's a community organizer? Helps working and building food and people cooperating together to help and provide food in a park where people need more. Community medicine is not only physical medicine, I'm sure. It's all kinds of medicine.
Truth. That is very true. And we need to really attend to the mental health, emotional health, physical health of everybody, Dignity.
And I imagine you working, quote, help referrals to people to different places that they might find help on the island?
I'm someone who people know when they're ready, because also you got to balance, are people ready to take a step up? So I'm the kind of person who you can trust. If they're ready to take a step up for themselves, I will walk alongside them and help to figure out the resources. I'm not going to just do it for people. I'm not really into the codependency models.
No, I don't mean. What I meant is, you have to have someone willing.
And I actually I do way more. Yeah, right now, it's more about encouragement than physical food. There's plenty of I have no concern about people and food in Kihei. There is plenty of food. What I'm looking for is people to have more accountability to their emotional health, their mental health, their addiction, finding new pathways to holding themselves accountable for, what are you here for? What's your kuleana? And when we take that away, which addictions often do, take away the verve that people have, how do we get people back into their heart space of service? And I don't know what people's service is, but I know if we keep asking people, what's your aspiration? What do you need? What lights you up?
And it's extraordinary, There's this issue about homeless people. You hear people talk about the homeless in a negative way. Houseless. I don't know if I'm appropriate, but I am.
There's a lot of different words, yeah.
But I can tell you, when you peel off the layers, like I know one lady there who was a doctor of acupuncture in a different state. Mm-hmm. And now she's helping people out there in the community, but never gets recognized. And there's so many people out there that have so much skill and that are trying to help this homeless community. And many of them are the homeless themselves.
Truth.
And that's what you're doing. You're lighting up people to help each other and bring out the best. They're unbelievable people. I've met doctors. I've met lawyers. You say, why is a lawyer? Maybe whether it started by them being in some crisis that got them homeless, and then they started drinking, and then they started a drug issue.
Or trauma, coming back from war, and the amount of trauma that you've got to deal with, and it's you're not ready to live in a square space. So people really need to work out their processes. And I used to roam around on the Mondays where the nonprofits were taking their days off, but the Mondays, Veterans Day, all those days where people need more encouragement rather than you can't go into the business. So those are the days where our veterans are going through the hardest days, July 4th, Veterans Day, Memorial Day. So they're retracing a lot of things that come back. So it's an especially good day to wander around, be in the field. I've done a lot of suicide calls, homicidal calls. You want to check in with the people who have trauma triggers on different days. So it's important just to roam around without even Jesus said you don't need to roam around with food or gold in your bag. You can just go forth and check in, on your brothers and sisters is kind of what I recommend.
Yeah. I know that guy, Jesus. He was one of me. I'm a Jewish kid. By the way, again, I'm breaking into something
Break
else.
in. Go for it.
I heard that the Molokai and Lanai public libraries are going to be showing a video that is way prejudiced toward Palestinians and anti-Jewish. Now, I personally found the horrors both in Gaza and killing thousands of people by the Israelis as a horror. But what instigated that step was slaughter of 1,200 people on that other day, October, whatever it was, 7th. And when you keep reeling back, you found out that the land and why the Palestinians been crammed into the corner in this, Gaza is all a refugee camp because Israel cleared off and moved, it's like, let's clear off Maui and let's let all these white people come in. Do you imagine how the Hawaiians feel?
Yes.
And it's like, so this whole thing is a mess, but I don't think the library should be showing things that are going to inflame and incite and break people and cause Jewish. I have nothing to do with Israel. There should be no reason why a Jew, just because you're Jewish, they're pointing and, we are not that. And I don't think that should be going on. And those kind of things bother me because in a land where Donald Trump has 50%, however many of the voters, 30 million people that he can do no wrong, there are many opinions out there. But that's why things that you do, things that I hopefully am doing, to take down the walls and show that we can be together. The harmony between people, the Muslims and the Jews, the Hawaiians and the non-Hawaiians,
or just family to family, starting there.
You find when we
mothers
get,
and fathers,
when we get to know each other and share and doing and caring, we're all one family. And Jesus said it best. He said, "Hey, brah." I don't even know how to say it in Hawaiian pidgin. I always find it interesting when I see white guys and white gals talking in pidgin. I'm always wondering, what are they trying to be local? I am not. I'm now, after living here 30 plus years, I can't believe it, over 36 years I've been here. I'm now 72, going to be 73 in April. Half of my life, this has been my home for lifetimes. And the young people growing up now may know it as is now. But I didn't really understand when they first told me in '88, you should have seen what it was like before. But I can surely imagine when I got here and Kihei Road there weren't too many traffic lights, and there was right next to Foodland was a natural foods co-op and place. It was just such a beautiful. You'd walk across Kihei Road, there was no traffic. Now you try to make a left on Kihei Road is a major obstacle. Things, and the traffic is just extraordinary, and all the problems that we knew about and we could have planned about. We thought about having bikeways and all kinds of stuff. But as new ownership happened, powers that be didn't bring anything or put anything in place that would get that to be part of the developing community. And so now to try to address it becomes madness. How do you take a major roadway like South Kihei Road and where do you rebuild it? How do you rebuild it? So we have ourselves, quite a job. And so when anyone's building on the ocean, it just knocks me out that these houses are selling on the ocean for millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. And yeah, they say buyer beware, but the buyer knows they're not going to be here in the future. So, that thing about NIMBY, not in my backyard. Well, here we have a lot of that.
When COVID started, I'm going to jump in. When COVID started, I quit my job working with kids with autism, which I love, and I got a van, and me and a team of people helped to start Maui Rapid Response. So I could move product around, tents, tarps, food, hygiene, first aid. And so that was really my introduction to sharing and caring throughout Maui, but I really focused on South Maui. But through that time was when I met a lot of our unsheltered ohana who were raised here on this sacred island, and witnessing their skill sets and wisdom, and we just have to maintain this space of sharing the strengths that are still here, sharing the weaving, sharing about la'au lapa'au, like sharing the strengths of the culture. And that's where it's like the park systems, or just creating spaces where people feel like they can teach each other and share. So that's something that always reminds me, no matter how much building we've got going on, there's wisdom held among our brothers and sisters. And that's where the encouragement of how do we create spaces so we can keep sharing the wisdom, because we're going to go through a long time of this rebuilding. but the wisdom is still here between us. So I like creating peace pods and connecting the dots with peace pods across the island so people feel safe to share. Yeah.
Peace pods.
Peace pods. Yep.
I just want to let all our audience know I'm here with Melanie Undem, and Melanie is Prayer and Movement and Lotus Ministries. Look up on Instagram and on Facebook. You'll see more about her. We are on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. And we're simulcast on Akaku Maui Community TV. Our repeat on television, the only one I know scheduled, is right after Democracy Now! At 7 a.m. on Saturdays. So if you're watching Democracy Now! And you're on Maui, first of all, you're up early. What are you doing up so early? But at 7 a.m., you'll be able to see this show. And on MauiNeutralZone.com, you'll be able to see this show and all our past shows. You know, we are, the way we're set up is a call-in and call-out talk show. They're going to see at the bottom of their screen a number to call in, whether it's today, excuse me. I think that the most important thing is to have that input from the community. I wouldn't be surprised that after this show, and I hope you'll share it as well, that you're going to get a lot more people coming to you and sharing to you, not only to come to help you in what you're hoping to do, but in sharing what we're all hoping to see, which is cooperation. And
practicing. I mean, I think people use the word collaboration and cooperation, but we haven't been very well practiced in that.
So, I found that too. I went to the shelter that was built by FEMA near the airport.
Yes.
Which houses a number of, I don't remember the number, 500.
I think, I thought it was 120, but I'm not.
Let's say it's 120. I don't care numbers. I went there because people that weren't in the burn zone, who needed help, I went there to see what help they have that they could then refer to agencies on the island, and so that those people, although those other agencies may be stressed, that is their job, right? That's what we all keep pointing to. And I found that the people that run that shelter said to me nicely, no, we don't refer them to anywhere. That's not part of our chartered mission. Well, what are we talking about? We're talking about people that are coming in looking for help, that even when they go for help, those agencies don't refer them to other places. It's beyond my understanding. Little things like that. That kind of level of cooperation is even minimal, but it's not happening.
There's a lot. Back to I'm really interested in being a community catalyst for collaboration, and we use the word a lot, but there's still needs to be a lot of work to really trickle down to the people most in need and work better together as care teams.
And how do we do that? What's your idea of how we might do that?
I think that's a great idea. I think people need to gather more often. I mean, in Kalama, I try to gather the people who are there and sharing care, and it's hard to even get them to gather, the people who go and minister or do anything there. But it's like, I think we need to, personally, I think a once a week meeting, and you have a meeting structure, and how to check in. It's not about gossip. It's about how you're checking in your community, and how do we lead good communication? How do you share and care? And it's not about emotion. It's, it's sharing data, and then what are we going to do about it? And coming back the next week and going through, where have we progressed? And what do we do when we hit a roadblock? I believe people need to get better in all the organizations, nonprofits, government, and just the free-form folks sitting around and practicing freeform. Yeah, I mean, I've had to choose to become freeform because I haven't found that aspect of deepening more mature communication for actualizing solutions. I think people are doing awesome jobs individually, but I really would like to see more more
Well,
communication. I mean, I told the mayor this. I'm like, I was invited to speak to the mayor.
Which mayor? The one we got
Yeah,
now?
right before the fire, I was invited. There's a bunch of us who went, and I said, I'm like, the solutions are already here. Yeah, you gotta.
Look at this. This is, we have
I know
this
what you're saying.
committee,
Yeah.
Wednesday, whatever it was, forever, once a month, I think it was, every other week. And they came out with this thing, which gets updated, with a list of services. And they think that this is they felt like they had
Yeah, but
done
people don't have a phone. People
I was
can't.
just gonna
Yeah,
say,
I know. Yeah,
That's what exactly
you
it.
can't-
It's like, this is the ultimate, people don't have phones, their phones
They
are
can't get on the bus.
stolen.
They smell too. They can't get on the bus. To go. So it's. I love how the bus is still free since the fire. I'm going to share that as a. There's a lot of positive things
That's
going
a
on,
positive
but
thing.
yeah, phone numbers. What people really need help with is sitting beside them and doing it with them. It's like a phone numbers. Is it's hard to advocate for yourself when you're unsheltered and going through trauma.
I can tell you, a lot
Yeah.
of people have been afraid.
Yeah.
That's because they don't know that if you sit with someone that's homeless, you'll discover, I've discovered every single time, that there's a lot of person there. There are individuals that deserve dignity, and when you sit and give them the time and attention, you'll discover a wealth there that needs to be really explored and helped,
Yes. And wisdom. I mean, I'm like, there's so much wisdom in that field. What looks like the muddiest is, so I like going to listen to people's stories and building trust. And it's different. Like we got to build trust. People who are often unsheltered experience a lot of trauma, so you got to develop, what communication skills, showing up consistently, people knowing that they can trust you to carry their, thing to the next step, because it's intimate work. Yeah. Helping people to take the next step, but their whole life is exposed. They've been totally exposed.
And here's one that I'm not going to point fingers, but someone there in the park when they tell me that they got their ice for the week through one of the workers that's out there from one of the agencies.
Ooh.
Who's a dealer. Like, what?
Yeah, but no one wants. Maui is not talking about meth. Is that what you mean by ice? Or you're
Yes,
talking
that's
about it for your
exactly what I
cooler?
mean.
Yeah, it's a conversation that we need to have. I connect with a lot of young, especially men, 20, 30-year-olds. It's different. The 20 and 30-year-olds impacted with meth compared to the 50 and 60-year-olds. It's a different medicine. It's completely changed, and it's taking the youth's minds away, and it's a very small open. Anyway, I would love to sit and talk about that, but that's
no, but it's not that small. And again, I'm bringing it up to you.
Right.
You know how many years ago we spoke about this, and
but
that's why we
we
don't have the resources. We don't have the resources. The people that are out there they're like ducks on the surface.
We do.
They're calmly halting, but underneath the ground, they're pedaling as fast as they can. They look calm we have these solutions, but they don't have enough solutions.
But we have so many spaces. We have parking lots. We have empty churches, except for an hour on Sunday. We have so many spaces to make available for sanctuary across this island.
And you can't force people to do.
But
See,
I'm not going to say we
it.
don't have the resources. I won't. So I believe we do have the resources.
Well, you and I agree, but we don't have the resources in the government who keeps pointing. I know people, they really believe that they say, well, they should go to the shelter.
Right.
They should go to this agency. What do you mean? But when you go to those agencies, there's no room for the volume of challenges.
Correct.
So if community doesn't step up, then we have no resources. But what you said, there are many spaces. There was one person that said to me, if every church put under their wing 6 or 7 people to help, we would virtually get rid of the homeless problem.
Yep.
But that's not what's happening.
Not yet.
People, again, you're a very good believer.
I am. I really am.
And that's good, because
Yeah.
so am I.
Yeah.
Remember, I
Yeah.
started this in 1991. So it's not been quick in happening, and we look at a world. We are so fortunate to be here on Maui while the world is doing what they're doing at a distance.
But it's a microcosm, so I think we have such an opportunity. We do.
But what kills me is I'm hearing from you saying that. What hurts me so deeply, not you. I've been talking about this since I ran for mayor, since I ran in 92, 94. That's a lifetime ago that we could have. But now is the moment of power. You've heard these people say that. You know that. What we have going on now gives all of us an opportunity to make those strides toward cooperation and getting involved in these ways. And now the whole world is going to be with us. So don't turn your back on the fact that possibility exists for a better world. People like Melanie, way long after I'm gone, and I'm not leaving so quick, by the way. You know, way after I'm gone, we need people to step up and get it.
I honor your excitement about weaving, because we do have to weave the generations, and we have to share the skills so we can not, so I like this, and I like, we need the 20 and 30-year-olds sitting with us, and then the 10-year-olds, so we can really weave all of the...
That's what I mean. Here I am, 35 years ago, that someone would remember me because I was their substitute teacher, and they remember Mr. Schwartz. My goodness gracious. But I made room for them. I used to have this thing when I was substitute teaching. The teachers would leave you a plan, and these are the trouble students. Don't let. So when I came in, many times I'd say, okay, who's Joe Schwartz? And some big guy would get up, and he was there, and he would become my champion in that classroom. And people would be seeing him in a whole new light, and it gave him or her such good feeling, and and that's why they remember me, I think.
Well, and then learning, teaching kids inside boxes is a tough situation too. So I think it would be fun to look at how we're going to shake up education. Are we teaching people how they learn? Are we really taking into account that people don't really learn necessarily how we're teaching them?
And we want to take our hats off to the teachers that are
always
making strides in this direction.
Yep.
They are valiant heroes working with our
But a lot of the unsheltered, I think, are the kids who need to be outside. I think we all need to connect to the land. And how are we blending that into our education? But that is, as I'm finding, it needs to be a top priority. Dealing with addiction, with trauma, is making sure people have space to connect back to the land, work the land, learn to weave, my carving for me is my meditation and my prayer, and then I'm making, useful things. But it's really important to get people connected back to the land,
Well, I'm hoping that you guys are going to write down Melanie's contact stuff and be in touch with her to help some of these things happen, and you could be a leader with her in helping that happen. That's what we mean. Of course, we all know what a net looks like, right?
Yeah.
But it's that old thing, a bunch of people standing separately, but when you hold hands, you create a net, and the bond is so strong, you can hold water, We can work together to catch the rain that we've been praying for, I have a friend who's a pastor who's actually on the board, is Reverend Rayfield Johnson. What kind of name is that? I never, you heard those commercials. You could call me Ray, you could call me Jay, but don't call me Johnson. Well, it's very funny. But he's on my board. He said to me years ago, "What would Jesus do, Brother Rayfield?" That's his email address.
Cool.
And what would Jesus do? What would you do if you saw this situation? You know,
and I think it's
important.
also about like having the courage to do something that might be out of your, like, we're new every day. So how we show up to our brothers and sisters or ourselves who are struggling, we're new, yeah? So we might have to have more courage to walk alongside people that we're scared. I think people get scared of helping others because we don't know how to do it. And, but we don't know how to do it unless we show up. But I do believe in, it's like, all right, let go and let God. I'm here as a witness. Well, I got, give it up, but it works. Like prayer works. It works. And people love being heard. I will go and pray for, if people ask. I'm not fanatical in that sense, but when you ask people, like, is there a prayer I can listen to, your own words? It's like, it's so cool. I feel so blessed to hear people's stories, and then where two or more are gathered, solutions happen. I witness that. I witness solutions happening, and it's different than we're expecting or hoping, but if we're gathering with clear heart, it really can change. Yeah, mountains can move.
Well, that's every day, every
Amen,
day.
Yeah.
Ain't no mountain high enough to keep me away from you, babe. Remember the day you set me free? What a funny thing. Music is an amazing tool to be able to, you know it.
Well, yeah, so back to meth. So meth plus this dark music it's a whole process going on. I feel like we need to look at that. We need to look at that. But it's like music, there's a difference between good it's not all good. Like, there's bumper stickers, oh, it's all good. It's like, that's not true. The path, we have to have a discerning path, yeah? Path of discernment.
And the thing that seems to make that actualize is the individual taking the responsibility to do that.
Yep.
Because you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yes.
But what if you make him comfortable?
But people don't know,
Make him,
right.
Some people might not drink until they see it's safe to drink.
Yes.
So what you're doing is invaluable. No. And I'm very thankful to have met you.
Yeah,
I hope
likewise.
we can be working together.
Likewise.
I'm sure we may.
Yeah.
You out there, I want you to know, some of you who are tuning in, you thought that I was going to have Eddie Garcia here. Eddie couldn't make it at the 11th hour. He was actually, to think that RFK is now aware of this problem in Oluwalu brings up my hope that he's an environmental lawyer. We were looking for an environmental lawyer. Maybe we've found one. But we have Melanie
Undem.
I have to get it.
It's okay. I don't really use it too much. Undem.
Undem.
Undem, yeah.
Well, just because these are blind eyes. But Melanie, you're really a terrific guest. You bring out the love and caring and cooperation that I hope that all of you embrace. And I'm knowing that the good work that you've been doing will be added to, and it's going to help more and more people. So you're right about that park and stuff. How are things there in the park these days? I haven't been out in a bit.
That's a great question. The floods are gone, so we have people able to move on their own.
Is it unmuddy yet?
It's pretty much dried out, yeah.
Okay.
It's dirty. There's trash everywhere. So I know that population well enough. I'm like, you got to clean up your stuff. Like, I'm like, you guys, if you're living in the park, clean up your stuff. Like, you got to clean up your stuff. So there isn't a lot of accountability, and when there isn't a lot of accountability in that, then that's when sweeps happen. Because when it gets too messy or too smelly, or people are taking over too many spaces, then it's just like, choop. I recommend, I'm like, if you guys are going to live in the park, You should have your stuff cleaned up before the sun rises. You should not be hanging out, you know. So
don't camp.
You know, or there's camping that goes. We can't deny there's camping that happens in the park, but be way more subtle.
And there are people visiting.
Yeah,
and
right.
So
it's
treat it all
exactly
with respect.
Right. So there's so many people who are unsheltered, who are, you know, the highest moral value. You know, like, you know, those aren't the people we're worried about. But go ahead.
You're okay. I can hardly believe it. We have less than 2 minutes left.
So the park is awesome. The park is an awesome place to integrate and practice and be held accountable. And, you know, I think Kalama could be heaven on earth. Yeah, why not make it all, you know, a good model for how the parks and the police and the jail and the sanctuaries all work together, because it's happening there anyway. So we might as well gather and talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, Kalama Park is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You know, I've been here now.
But I'd like to see bathrooms with, you know, soap and hot water, and people can look in the mirror, you know, like that. Well, if people can see themselves in the mirror.
Oh, there are no mirrors there.
No mirrors, no soap.
Never? They don't put soap in there?
Not since I've been here.
Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was a bathroom that had soap, and that's the bathroom that the mayor used to go to most often. So that one, I heard, would more typically have soap. But this is a longer story.
Well, I am just looking. I don't want to miss the end of my show.
Go for it.
We have 42 seconds. Isn't it amazing? We run through another one. MauiNeutralZone.com. You can watch this show and all of our shows. We're very happy to be with you, audience. And Melanie, thank you for joining us. I hope you'll come back again.
I look forward. More music.
It is the end of the show, but we are just beginning. Together, we are stronger. And that's really the most important message. And Melanie, blessings to you.
Aloha.
Everyone, get in touch with this young lady. We will see you next week here from the Neutral Zone. Aloha.
Aloha.